Jason. How are you doing?
Welcome to our environment created by BizzTech. And let's go to the auditorium and chat in more detail.
Oh, sounds good. Let's do it.
Great.
Yeah, this is an auditorium that BizzTech created, and we customized it for you guys, for Position². So we've got all the content in here is actually yours.
Absolutely, yeah. What about sitting on the stage, guys?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, great to meet you, Dirk and Jason. Very excited to be with you today in the Position² environment. So glad that we were able to get together, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
So, Rajiv, we're really glad to be here with you as well. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Position²?
Thanks, Jason. I really enjoy learning about what drives movements, what gets people to buy and influence other people. I see the innovative technology like what you're building as a way to make the world a much better place. And in founding Position², I was able to put all this together. I was able to drive great growth for amazing innovators by utilizing the power of digital marketing. So I'm really looking forward to talking with both of you today about what you can do with Metaverse as a B2B service. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about why you started the company, who you are and why you started the company, and what made you build this amazing view of the world that we're seeing today?
Of course, definitely a pleasure to be here. My name is Dirk Schmidt, and I'm co-founder and CEO of BizzTech, the Metaverse as a service company headquartered in Austin, Texas.
You know, Dirk, you forgot to mention that you were recently listed as a top 50 Web3 LinkedIn influencer on Airtable too.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, and I'm Jason Schuster, co-founder, COO of BizzTech, and like Dirk, I'm also a lifelong entrepreneur. So from a couple of different industries, mostly gaming.
It started everything with a talk with some business friends a little bit more than 4 years ago when we discussed, hey, oh my God, we traveled so much to do business. That's crazy, is it? That costs a lot of time and money, and it's also not cool for the environment, right?
Absolutely. So we started off, with kind of pioneering the virtual B2B events space, and this was a long time ago. This was before, back when Corona was still a beer, as Dirk likes to say, and
Corona was never a motivation for us. We really wanted to. Now, what we want to reach is we want to make virtual business interactions efficient, immersive, and interactive like physical ones.
A lot of times when you think about the metaverse, you see movies like Ready Player One or what Mark Zuckerberg at Meta talking about. But this is actually a bit different than that. Maybe you could talk about the difference between the consumers are hearing and seeing, and then how your vision differs and how that's resulted in this really cool implementation.
Yeah, Jason, do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely see Metaverse has gotten a lot of attention, especially in the last, let's say 12 to 18 months, with Meta, with Meta being kind of the center of that. And we have to thank Mark Zuckerberg for kind of putting Metaverse in everyone's mouth. But I would also say that we've seen a lot of of negative press towards some of those things. But the truth is that you have to look at what is it that gets people to adopt technology. And some of the Metaverse platforms that we see out there have kind of a high barrier to entry. You need special equipment, or you need to download stuff, or you need like really good internet or a really great PC or something like that. And so I would say the biggest difference between where we are and where some other platforms are is we really built with accessibility in mind.
I wonder if you could give me some consumer applications that have actually worked well in the metaverse?
First, yeah, we talked already about Meta, but there are several other examples, like Jason mentioned already. Until last September, 21 million people have visited Nike's store on Roblox. Wow, that's a number, right? We cannot generally say that consumers haven't shown up. It all reminds me of the beginning of the internet. Meanwhile, companies made their research how to use it beneficially for their needs. You heard from the media that it has no future, right? Resistance to the metaverse will be a bit like the resistance to the internet back then.
Great point, Dirk. A lot of times we see this, Gartner calls it the hype cycle, right? Where there's a lot of excitement for something.
Right.
The energy behind it then hits a peak, and then it hits what they call a trough of disillusionment, where expectations go beyond the hype, but then it comes back. And McKinsey actually said that there's about $5 trillion in business value will occur by 2030 in the metaverse. So how would you approach a business prospect with the concept of metaverse as a service?
Absolutely, Rajiv. And yeah, we love the McKinsey report. A lot of great stuff in there. There needs to be a bridge to take companies from Web 2 to Web 3, right? And it needs to lower that barrier to entry. So our approach is we try to create use case oriented solutions and strategies that help businesses with that transition.
That's really interesting. Now, no company has a crystal ball to look into the future. So where do you see the industry going 12 months from now?
Yeah, in 2021, Bill Gates said that in 2 to 3 years, 50% of all business interactions would take place in the metaverse. And a recent report from Tenable says 58% of the companies plan to do business in the metaverse in this year. Over the next 12 months, I believe that we will see more adoption from enterprises and a lot of different new use cases. What do you think, Jason?
I believe the same, but I also think that what we'll see is adoption on platforms that are really working to bridge those companies from Web 2 to Web 3. And probably not as much on 100% Web 3 platforms that have that high barrier to entry, or probably platforms that are super reliant on blockchain tokens, especially with some of the recent happenings in that space. But I also think we'll see the concept of metaverse as a service expand, beyond just developers, and kind of to something that I think you'll understand at heart, Rajiv, is I think that a lot of companies are going to turn to their marketing agencies, asking them, "Hey, how do we do this? How do we get into Web3? How do we get into metaverse?" Because when they're trying to do something new and innovative like that, I believe that that's one of the first places that they stop.
I agree. I think there's a lot of really interesting things that companies can do. And in fact, even in this environment that was created here, not a fixed building. So we can play in infinite fashion with all sorts of designs and setups and interactions and experiences. So as a digital agency, there's like this amazing creative palette that we can basically play with a client's brand, enable them to have all sorts of experiences with their prospects or clients, or they educate their new team members, or there's just all sorts of interesting ways in which they can reach out to folks. If you think about this on a more practical note, why don't we just discuss about the room that we're in? How is this better than a Zoom call?
So we are passive, so that's not natural. So we want to interact, right? And here, for example, hey, I can do what I want. I can stand up if I'm completely crazy and start to dance, all right? So, however, I can interact and I can express myself in a complete different way, and I'm not think I don't have to listen to one person and then wait till the other one starts.
Zoom calls aren't going to disappear. Zoom calls still have their place in the future. but I also believe that they're going to have to adopt and they're going to have to change. For instance, we can turn on our cameras here in the environment, and we can actually see each other physically. So Zoom has some things that they need to do to catch up, but it'll still have its place for, the quick 5-minute call or between two people. But I think what we'll see is for team settings and larger engagements, if we're going to move more and more towards this immersive, engaging type experiences, and especially for, when it comes to digital marketing, digital content.
I think there's a great Stanford article on this where they had their virtual human interaction lab look at this, and they said, well, one thing is that people don't want to see folks. When you look at they have eye contact with people for an extended period of time. When you have all those faces and you're looking at people's eyes, that actually makes people uncomfortable over time. It's one of these primal things that we have when you're in that environment, part of having a discussion, but then to see it all day is very difficult.
Absolutely. I 100% agree, Rajiv.
One last point on this, just kind of in comparison to video calls, I think is inclusivity, right? And this was I was having a conversation with Taryn over there at Position², and we were talking about how Metaverse is really, in long term, it's more inclusive to users. So not just businesses, but to users as well. And that's that through the avatar, you can kind of express yourself, and what you want to look like, who you feel that you really are.
Yeah, I think that's really an important point, because a lot of times these are things you don't have to worry about as much. You have an avatar that expresses yourself, so it's far more inclusive, far more open.
But
there you go.
Anyways, welcome back, Dirk. There you are.
Sorry, guys. I quickly had to go to the bathroom.
Oh. Okay.
I thought you went over to the Nike store.
Yeah, let's go into the boardroom. Now the difference, the boardroom has the interactive screens, and there's not a lot of additional content in the boardrooms, but it's a cool ambiance. Baron, you're a rock star for keeping up with all this.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. You're in a whole different environment here. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting brand representation of ourselves. Reminds me a little bit like the Glass Onion, although in a nicer way.
Yeah.
Boom.
I don't know if you know, Dirk and I really have a lot of fun with what we do.
Well, thank you both very much. Yeah, if you're ever in the Bay Area, let me know, and we'll get together.
That would be great.
100%.